Hello, everyone. Lovely to see so many people here. So, as Arlene has said, the individual award scheme gave people with dementia and unpaid carers of people with dementia up to £500 each to spend on whatever would make a difference to them. There weren't any rules about the kind of thing this money could or couldn't be spent on. It was just something that would make a difference. And the people receiving the awards chose these things themselves. Sometimes they had some help from their family or from someone they knew from an organisation like Alzheimer's Scotland to think about what would make a difference to them. Often this person helped them with filling in the forms as well. And one of our key findings was that this sort of support from a known and trusted person was really helpful in encouraging people to apply and to get the most out of the opportunity to choose to spend what to spend a little bit of money on for themselves. It just sparked that creativity and thinking through ideas that Arlene was talking about and made people feel supported through the process. Because for a lot of people, this was very new. It's not often that somebody gives you some money of any amount that you have control over what you spend it on without any eligibility criteria or rules. So we found that people did not have big fancy ideas. The ideas they had covered a huge range of different things. So I'm going to give you some examples of the sorts of things. So this woman here in the picture spent some money, some of her award on her wheels, as she calls them. And I'll tell you a bit more about her later. She was a lovely woman with a lovely family. And as you can see there, she's very happy and smiley with her wheels. Other people chose things like household goods, like TVs, cookers, fridge freezers, chairs or beds. Some people chose to spend their award on help with jobs in the garden or in the house, or home improvements like new carpet or decorating a room or installing a wet room or some decking or some paths in the garden. A really popular choice was trips away to see family or friends or to visit old haunts, or for carers to spend some time with their children or families doing something just for a break. Obviously, the money didn't extend to a Caribbean cruise, but that wasn't what people thought would make a difference to them. One woman went to see the TT motorbike race in the Isle of Man, which had been a lifelong ambition for her that she hadn't yet fulfilled. And one woman went with her sister to Jersey, where they'd spent a lot of their childhood years, and they went back and looked at the house where their auntie had lived and the places they used to play and that kind of thing. There was a lovely story about a man who'd been in the RAF, and he used his award to pay for himself and his wife and his family to attend a ceremony where he was receiving a certificate for his role in recovering the bodies from an American plane that had crashed during the war. In a similar vein, there was a couple who used their money to pay for a big family party for their 60th wedding anniversary. Having the money meant they could afford a meal in a nice hotel with space for the whole extended family and some new clothes to wear for the occasion. They did look very splendid. I've seen the photos. Some spent their reward on things like tablets or smartphones. Others spent their reward on necessities that are difficult to afford and they'd been making do without, things like new glasses or car repairs or new bedding or curtains. So that's a little bit about the scale of the individual awards and the sorts of things people spent their money in. One thing that was particularly important when we were carrying out the evaluation was what kind of impacts these awards had. So we found that although the things people spent their award on were not necessarily fancy or extraordinary, they often had impacts far beyond their initial value. So the lady with the wheels that I just showed you, for example, her family take her out on foot much more now than they did before. She can walk further, she's less likely to fall, and she can even put her shopping in the wee bag. Before she got her wheels, she mostly was taken out in the car and mostly only for essentials, not for the pleasure of going for a walk because she was too unsteady on her feet. So the wheels have had a huge impact on the amount of fresh air and exercise that she gets, which has impacts for her physical health and her mental health. And there have also been impacts for the wider family who can enjoy their time with her much more and are feeling less stressed and worried when they do take her out. This slide is a photo of a shed. Not very exciting, you might think, but it had a huge impact for the couple who used their award money to buy it. They had recently had to move away from their home and garden of many years to a flat with no outside space. But they're lucky enough to have a caravan down the coast from where they live, which they still go to many weekends. However, the husband, who has dementia, particularly missed his garden shed. He didn't know where to put himself without it and was frequently anxious. So this couple spent their reward on a new shed, exactly the same as the old one, and put it next to their caravan. Now their weekends away are calmer and they both feel they are having a proper break. She suggests a job for him to do in the shed, and he will have a happy, purposeful time tidying the shelves or whatever that job is. And she can have a quiet cuppa and read her book. They're together 24/7 the rest of the time, and this gave them both a big break with huge impacts for their stress and anxiety levels, which also has impacts on their physical health and their ability to cope with daily life the rest of the time. Often we find there were impacts on other people, like the Wheels lady's family. Another example was the wider family of a couple who used their reward to pay for someone to help with cleaning and gardening. The couple now have more time to spend together and to socialise. The husband, who's the carer, feels less exhausted and their kids are less worried for him. They also enjoy visiting more because they can now relax and spend social time with their parents rather than rushing about trying to help with jobs in the house or garden while their exhausted dad falls asleep in his chair. The extra social connection, both with family and friends, has a big impact on the wife as well. She has what her husband describes as happy dementia and really responds to social interaction. So they go to the golf club and lunch with friends while their cleaner is in the house. One man caring for his wife in Aberdeen spent the award on a new cooker, which is much easier to keep clean and saves him time. So now he cooks more meals from fresh than he did before. So that has health impacts for both himself and his wife. Carers who use the money to have a break or a treat for themselves stress the impact of that. Improved relationships with the person they care for and with the rest of their family. They came back feeling refreshed, recharged, less tired, and better able to cope with their caring role. People who have dementia and the people they care for them spend a lot of time at home. So for those who spent their money on home improvements, there were also big impacts. Redecorating gave people a project to get into and a more comfortable, attractive environment. One woman was no longer embarrassed to have visitors, but once she'd redecorated her living room. So there was an impact there on her social life and the extent to which she was feeling isolated. Another was no longer worried about tripping on her ripped carpet and was obviously had reduced anxiety there, and that had an impact on how she felt in general. Another couple spent their reward on decking and a path in their garden, which meant they were able to spend more time out there without worrying about falling over and being able to push a wheelchair out into the garden. So that had impacts on their physical health and their mental well-being because they could spend time outdoors unworried and getting about. There were also many impacts in terms of people being able to stay independent for longer. For example, people who converted or put the money towards converting or adapting a bathroom or installing a wet room, that gave people the opportunity to be able to need less help with their personal care or in the bathroom and to feel more independent and in control day to day with their personal care. People got riser chairs or new mowers or new hoovers that they could manage more easily and more easily move around their home to do daily tasks and to keep coping and feeling independent at home for longer. So it's clear that the impact of these awards was significant, but they weren't just effective in the short term. We found that the benefits of the awards, as well as the impact, was long lasting. So for memories, for example, for people who have dementia and for carers of people who have dementia, obviously memories are very important. So the couple who had the 60th wedding anniversary in the big hotel had beautiful family photos on their wall taken at the event and cherished daily. They lit up when they showed me them and taught me through who everyone was and how special the day had been. The woman who went to the TTs had an album she still looks at regularly, enjoying the memories that those photos bring back and reliving the pleasure that she got from that event. So in daily life, for people who use the award to buy something like a new washing machine or a walking frame or a TV or a bed, this item continues to make a difference to their daily lives. The impact on their level of comfort or independence or safety or stress is an ongoing thing. People who spent their award on practical help like garden work or home improvements or cleaning or whatever, were still benefiting when we spoke to them, often many months later, from those improvements to their environment. Day-to-day life was made easier, or time or energy was freed up to spend socially, staying connected with their family or their friends or neighbourhoods. And that brings me on to connection. So, for example, one unpaid carer explained that his mum had deteriorated significantly when she'd had a period in hospital, and her mood was low and her willingness to socialize had decreased. And he worked out that that was because she didn't have the stimulation of TV. She was very fond of various TV programs, and her TV at home was old, and she was worried it was about to pack in. Her reward was spent on a new TV. So she now has lively discussions with him and with her carers about the programs that she's seen and plans to watch. That helps her feel more connected to the world. She's engaging more with other people and chit-chatting around the things that she's watching. People who spent their reward on digital equipment like tablets or smartphones are now finding keeping in touch with family far away much easier, and we're having regular video calls, for example. So they have an ongoing pleasure for these people in maybe talking to their grandchildren every day and actually being able to see them and be shown things that they've been doing and vice versa. So these are wonderful things to hear about. So in summary, you don't really need me to tell you this, but it doesn't take much. We learned that things don't need to be expensive or fancy to make a big and long-lasting difference to people's lives. People know themselves what will make a difference to them, even if they sometimes need a little support from someone they know and trust to work out what that is. This is financial empowerment. This is feeling in control. Impacts ripple out from the immediately obvious to wider benefits in relation to emotional and physical health, independence, connection and interaction, helping people to feel in control and to live a good life at home for longer.